I'm in the process of French polishing this octave mandolin. I've done several sessions, and then I've just finished doing the first level, kind of a very light leveling with sandpaper, wet dry sandpaper. So now I'm just gonna show, again, how I go about this process. I have my freshly mixed shellac in my favorite shellac jar. It's a 1 pound cut. And then I have a pipette with walnut oil, denatured alcohol, and then the shellac in here. So one way to keep things straight, especially because the walnut oil and the shellac look similar, is I put just a piece of tape on this pipette, just a visual difference. And then I have the pad that I've been using. Between sessions, I keep it in a Ziploc bag. And then I keep the rag that I use to apply a new layer of shellac. I don't want any oil on it, so I have a designated piece of t-shirt rag for that. So again, this is what I do, is just kind of put some onto the rag there, and I work in straight strokes with the grain. Again, I'm just getting material or shellac down onto the instrument. Doesn't have to overlap, doesn't have to be perfect, as long as they're close, and it's not a problem if each pass overlaps. Again, when you're using the pad with the walnut oil and doing the circles, like the actual polishing, that's kind of when you end up redissolving what I'm putting down now and kind of like spraying it and leveling it as you go. So that's kind of, this is just a way to get the material down. If you use a mixture that's more than a 1 pound cut, it's gonna probably feel a little too gunky and just too thick, and you're probably gonna just feel like the rag you're using is getting stuck in the shellac. And it's gonna take longer to gas off and dry between each pass, and so you're gonna have a lot more downtime. I found a 1 pound cut, maybe dilute a little bit more, is pretty good. Again, that can change depending on overall humidity and other workshop variables that might be specific to maybe where you live, what elevation, things like that. So, or even what season. I find that certain seasons, the French polishing goes a little bit more easily than others. So anyway, I'm just putting material down. Don't forget the edges. And again, this gas is off super quick, so by the time I get across the instrument, it's already dry on this side, and even for by the time I'm here, even the middle is pretty dry. So the process of how I'll do this is I'll finish up this pass, and then I'll do the polishing with the pad. All right, so here's the pad. Basically inside of it, there's just another little piece of fabric or cloth, and I'm actually gonna load this pad with some of the 1 pound cut and not hold it over the instrument. That'd be just disaster. It would just burn straight through. You'd have to like re-sand, re-level, and that'd be not great. So I'm gonna put this loaded pad back into this t-shirt rag. I always kind of twist it like that. And then I'm actually gonna take some denatured alcohol now, and I want it to be diluted, so I'm just gonna do a few drops. Because again, this is gonna be where it's kind of like the polishing method. You're leveling what you just laid, and you're also kind of like redistributing it. So you want a very diluted form of the shellac. And I'm just gonna put like just a small little drop on there. I just kind of hit against my hand, flatten it. Again, you never want to just put this straight down on the instrument you're working on or whatever it is. It'll just burn straight through. So you always kind of just want to start in the air above it and then make contact with the instrument and work in a systematic way that makes sense for you. I always start with one edge, and I'm actually going over the very edge, and it's very subtle, but I'm kind of using my pointer finger to kind of push the pad kind of over the corner. All right, and that's to kind of build some material onto the edges while I'm going in circles. So I'm gonna keep on doing that. Now from my angle, I can kind of see things gassing off, and it's going pretty quick, which is good. I have like 4 different lights on at different angles, and so sometimes you have to find the sweet spot as far as where the lighting is. If you cannot kind of see where things are gassing off or where the circles are, sometimes you can feel it, because it's going to feel a little bit more like dry because you haven't gone over it with like the pad with the olive oil. So you can kind of feel it'll just feel a little bit rougher as you pass over it. So it's kind of tricky with archtop instruments. You have, you know, grain going in all different directions, and it's easy to kind of neglect certain parts, like the inside of this, the horn here can be kind of easy to forget that guy. Don't want to forget that guy. Trying to just build a nice, even, consistent layer throughout. It'll make the leveling between, you know, every few sessions that much easier and more uniform, which is what we're going for. Now, I would only recharge or add more olive oil if I'm doing this enough and it starts to stick. That kind of means things are dried up, used up, and you need to recharge the pad. And just with that, you can kind of see, I don't really see any like real streaks or anything. So again, that's like probably 4 sessions with 1 leveling session having occurred. So anyway, that's what I'm gonna keep doing for the rest of the instrument. Again, just shows general idea again of how I go about with the French polishing.